we in the Infinite Way work are now approaching the state and stage of consciousness that lives by grace, not by physical might, not by mental power, not by knowledge, but by grace. The knowledge of truth always serves a function in our experience, in that it helps us to settle back into this attitude of expectancy. But that is the only purpose that knowledge is now serving us, the knowledge of truth. Because actually, we are rising above the letter into the spirit. You'll notice in all of the talks of 1963, it is emphasized that we are working toward the place of living without words and without thoughts. I mean, our spiritual living is without words and without thoughts. And every step of this year has been leading us up to this month, where we are actually experiencing grace. That is, the living above the letter, above the law. Just as there are physical laws that operate on the physical plane, mental laws that operate on the mental plane, and in our humanhood, we are always living by these laws. Although in our spiritual life, we are now living less by the physical laws and more by the mental laws, and then eventually less by the mental laws and more by the absence of law, by grace, because grace transcends all law. And grace is the absence of power, any power. Once you realize that you cannot use spiritual power, and that there is a state of grace, and you no longer rely on physical or mental powers, you then reach that attitude and altitude of consciousness, which is a state of grace, a state of non-power, and you discover that what heretofore has been power no longer is power in your experience. We are not thinking in terms of power. We are not thinking in terms of overcoming. We are not thinking in terms of words or thoughts. We are living, we are being. And we are letting the divine consciousness flow through us and animate us and live our lives for us. I haven't any power to be charitable or not charitable. Whatever it is that's functioning through me, that is what I must be. And it isn't I being it. I live, yet not I. Christ liveth my life. That sense of I has moved over to where it is really nothing but a beholder of life. It is always beholding and marveling at what things the Father is doing. But it is not participating. Beholding. You see that what I started out to say, and what I have been saying these last 2 days, and to which I have been leading up throughout this whole year of talk, Sunday talk, is that you now arrive at a place above words and thoughts, above using any truth, to just abiding. in stillness, in quietness, in peace, without words, without thoughts. And if there are any words or thoughts to come, let them come from the divine grace, from the Father within, from the source. When the Master says, I have overcome the world, he really means the law cannot function. The laws cannot function. I am living in a state of grace where there are no laws. And I can see that the laws can operate only in the minds of those who are accepting laws, to whom you render yourselves servants. He you must obey. The law or grace.